Hey, Gutfoxx here. So, we got a very special guest on our program tonight. The one, the only, you all know him from the bushes outside. McGunski, how you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. So, we'll just let out. Oh, go to Gunski's channel. We also did starting pitchers, relief pitchers over there. We're doing outfielders here. We lost the third leg of our tripod, Sebrev, to STS, so he can't be with us. But any words for our dearly departed Sebrev?
I still love him.
Yeah, ditto. Even though he joined the machine.
Hopefully, he helped the machine. That's what we're hoping for, right? And so, I'm sure he'll do great there and do just amazing things.
Not gonna lie, I love blaming him for everything that goes wrong with my game this year so far. Like perfect lineup. Sebrev! Yeah. So stuff like that is always enjoyable.
At least I know for sure we both know he's got the humor for it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you would never have to worry about it, him being offended by it.
All right. So we're gonna do top 10 outfielders. Do we have any notables? I think you said you had some notable pitchers. Do you have any honorary?
I actually don't have notable outfielders because when it came to 10, I was surprised at how hard it was.
Really? To get
Mhm.
10 that you liked?
I had 10 that I liked, I'll put it this way. I had 8 that I liked.
Really?
And then 2 where it's like, okay, like I think every card, even the 99s right now, there's certain cards that have holes, right? Not every card
Yeah.
is like a 99 Mickey Mantle, 125, 99 fielding, all that stuff, right? And switch hitter, right? So every card has holes, but really, in terms of like only having 1 or 2 holes, the ninth and 10th, I'm like, well, kind of maybe 3.
Yeah. I said this on the starting pitching one, and I don't like that we have like 5-tool superstars now. So guys like Soto, right? Like who the heck would put Soto on their outfield with 65 reaction because he's really good hitter. 97 Soto is like, is he unusable?
Is he unusable? No, I think he's definitely usable. Now, would it be smart to use him when there's plenty of other options? No, that would not be smart.
So it's just
But
sad.
again, if you liked Juan Soto, you should still be able to do just fine with him. It's just he won't be as good.
He's just gonna be a nothing burger in your outfield, take a bunch of false steps, and you're gonna hate his guts. Um, so like that's my thing is like previously you could build like you could have an all speed outfielder like you could have Buxton out there and he's chasing down things even though they kind of screwed over his reaction for his live series card. But now it's just like why not get 5-tool superstars?
Yeah, and I'm sure like for Juan Soto and quite a few others, this isn't even close to their
No.
best versions that we'll see. So if it plays out the way I think it might, having a not so great Juan Soto now, but let's say maybe set 3 or 4, right? We have one where they maybe juiced his fielding a little bit, and he has the hitting stats that you would expect. All right. Because to be fair, I mean, do we really think this is the best Gary Sheffield? Do we think best Mookie Betts, best? No, but even I would argue Vlad, who is on my list at some point, even Vlad Guerrero Sr. I think this will probably be his best hitting stats overall. But he'll probably have like a Expos or maybe even an Angels card where his fielding and speed are a little bit better, but takes a slight little hit to hitting and not much. But that's a much more usable card,
Yeah.
right? So I think there will be plenty of variations of even the big boys who already have 99s.
Like I just found it ironic that they told us they didn't want to give us a bad Ken Griffey Jr. card, and they gave us a bad Ken Griffey Jr. card that like Tatis is already way better than. But I actually like Ken Griffey. We'll talk about him in a minute.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say like you are gonna hate me, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to. I actually like this Ken Griffey, but like it's not 125s. You know what I mean? Like we're still gonna get a better
Yeah.
Ken Griffey down the road, regardless. So
They're still clearly trying to scale them. Like
Yeah.
they're even in the 99s, they're trying to scale it.
So what's the point? Like, do you want the same system next year? Or do you want to go back to the old style?
At this point, it's still too early for me to tell. I really won't know until set 3 because I want to see what happens when cards go away.
Okay.
How much content have they been releasing in set 2 to make up for what's gone in set 1 and now what's happening in set 3, and how much more of a grind rate? There's plenty of questions that I go, we can speculate, but at the end, it's just speculation. There's no actual like, well, this is what they did and I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a take other than the only take that I have, because it's already here and I go, it's stupid, is the fact that World Series rewards and BR rewards are so nothing burgers.
I mean, Ken Griffey's like, and like Posada, like 140, 150. That's kind of a big deal for BR.
To be fair, yes, I agree. This time around, the BR rewards are a little bit more, actually a lot more relevant.
Do you want me to say why I think they're more expensive this time?
Better cards?
No. Maybe part of it. But I think the reason, do you remember a ban wave that went out like a couple weeks ago? They got rid of.
No.
You say no?
Yeah, no, I don't. This is news to me, but continue. Okay. I'm interested.
Yeah, there was a pretty major ban wave I saw that went out on Twitter, and it was a lot of people that did you ever like see under SDS tweets? Those people that are like, hey, I'm boosting. I'll get you your 12-0 for free. I'll get you your World Series, whatever. Just give me a couple hours. So basically, these people had multiple counts, right? They had like hundreds of counts, and they'd match up against their own accounts, and it'd only take like an hour or two to get you 12-0 in BR. And SDS, I think, I don't know why it took them this long. Maybe it's because I talked to, I don't know how they got through this. But anyways, they ended up banning a bunch of those people. And so, like, the first World Series, when people just, like, bought all the way up, when they bought the innings, whatever, then the BR, they would get 12-0s, like that, and they were doing it on people's accounts, they were selling it, whatever. They banned a whole bunch of them. So now those are gone, and it's back. And so maybe the going forward, they'll stay higher because all the people that were botting to get those cards are gone. Or, a lot of them are gone now. I'm sure they'll start again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get to the top 10 then. All right, Gunski, who's your number 10?
At number 10, I have Torii Hunter. Now, as I was talking about earlier about how certain cards are going to have holes in them, like I said, 10 and 9, there's definite holes to be had. And Torii Hunter, now, at least when I re-look over him, it doesn't seem like there's that much of a hole as I was necessarily thinking. He does have 2 quirks that you really want, Dead Red and Breaking Ball Hitter. Yeah, in a perfect world, he's also got Unfazed. And Bad Ball Hitter, I would say, are the 2 that you always want to see as well.
Yeah.
But 106 contact right, max contact left. Decent to high power, depending on right or left, with amazing fielding, decent enough speed. And I got him at 10 for that. Yeah. And he usually has a decent swing.
Does he really? Okay, I'm trying to look at where Hunter is on these things. I don't know. I guess I didn't even think about him being there. He just doesn't like pop off the page for me. How much do you think how much do you value contact? Now you play obviously at higher difficulty levels. How much do you value contact versus power? And then as you go up in those difficulty levels,
I'm willing to see a card like Torii Hunter, right? So let's say I'm willing to see a card that's like 125 max contact and 80 to 90 power, as opposed to the other way around where it'd be 80 or 90 contact and 125 power.
Really?
Contact matters a lot more on Legend. And to be fair, and so does Clutch. Now I know we're talking about outfielders, but because it's going to tie into what we're talking about, can I actually put in one notable player?
Yeah, sure.
I did tell you about him the other day, but he's not an outfielder. It is Jorge Posada. Okay. I cannot. So as I told you about, I would prefer that they have higher contact. For whatever reason, even every time he comes to the plate with 103 contact versus right, or if he's, in a clutch situation with 97 at parallel 2, there is, and I'm sure you'll go over it. He just fucking nukes the ball. on Legend, even with a small PCI. So I'm learning through him. To be fair, if you fit certain criteria, especially in this case being a switch hitter, so I always get at least a platoon advantage. Um, dude, I'm in. He's hitting 591 on Legend through 12 games, over a 2,000 OPS on Legend with a small PCI. He drops dong. I can't get out with him. It's nuts.
Yeah. Posada's a pretty good card, and I went to the main roster as everybody saw on the screen for a reason. Now I didn't know what Torrey Hunter was, but I know Jorge Posada is an extreme pull player, and you and I have talked about this offline, and we've talked about it plenty of times on the channel here too. So okay, it's about timing windows. Extreme pull means that timing windows on like inside pitches are going to be higher. Whole fields, it's kind of balanced and opposite. The timing window on away pitches a little bit better, but better results over there. And there's some other things that go into it, of course, but Posada's got the extreme pull. Hunter's got a whole field, which is, why I was surprised you like his swing so much, because generally whole field guys don't have good swings. Maybe he has a good stance for you. I've never really liked Torrey Hunter cards.
He's got a good stance.
Okay.
I will say that. A very basic swing, but his leg kick, good timing. Like for me and how I want to hit, right? That's really what I get at. His stance I like.
Yeah. He's not in my top 10, but it's an interesting choice. And like, okay, what do you think they did to power? Because you know how like power at 99 used to be like, max power, and like, okay, we want to go over that. We want 125 is now the max power. Do you think like it feels like, in previous years you had like 80 power, you were like had enough to hit, like, when Ramon said perfect on 80 power would be a home run. Like, dude, I got like 125 powers, perfect, like flying out, before the warning track this year, and like even the moonshot. Do you think they nerfed 125 power?
I don't think they nerfed 125 power. And Bangle memes me all the time for it. But there's one thing that every time I look at with the perfect where it will make sense, it's the exit velo of it. So it's dependent on, to some degree, it's going to be dependent on the player. I seem to have it happen more often with Sammy Sosa than anybody else. And it'll always be like, right to the pull side, it's never an issue. Going completely the other way, it's never an issue, because you're targeting the short sides of the field.
Yeah.
But going to dead center, right? I hit an outside fastball, perfect to dead center at Coors with Sammy Sosa, 125 power, and it was a 94 mile per hour fastball, left his bat at 98. Died basically right on the warning track, right in front of it.
Doesn't that feel like a nerf to you? Shouldn't that be like 110 off the bat?
I don't. So, do I think it should be much higher? Of course, I think it should be much higher. But do I think it's a nerf where it was intended? No, I don't think that was their intention, because it is more likely that it still leaves the yard at a higher exit velo than not. I just think there's something still somewhat off with hitting. Granted, I'll still say from my experiences, hitting's better than we've really had in the last 3-4 years, but that don't mean it's perfect.
Yeah,
right.
I agree with that.
There's definitely still issues, but it's better. And there's still like some like little kinks here that they need to work out, massage through a little bit.
Yeah,
it's definitely, there's certain ones that are where you go, oh my god.
Yeah, like I've done that back-to-back perfect with Murakami, the same thing, where I'm like, how is that not a home run to center field with that? So Sammy Sosa's got a whole field tendency, and you're right, it is maybe like center field. So I don't know, it definitely feels different this year. Maybe it's because they all have it, and this has always been a thing. It's just like we see it more because it's the early part of the year, and in previous years we could explain it away by stats. This year with 125 power, it's literally not explainable. How much do you think quirks matter? Do you think quirks raise exit velo, or do they just like provide bonuses to like contact and power? I guess that would technically raise exit velo too, but like, how like perks during showdown says increased exit velo for a perk?
Yeah.
How much do you think quirks? Are quirks and perks similar, or quirks just additions to, contact power, those kind of things?
In my experiences, Dead Red and Breaking Ball Hitter, those cards will hit that pitch harder. Right? Okay. Slightly higher exit velos, right? When you talk about that whatever that game mode is, where you get the exit velo boost and stuff, it seems pretty similar. However, it still wouldn't explain what happened to Sammy since he has Dead Red. And that's what I mean. Like, I don't think it's this isn't what they want, right? It's like something happened, whether it's Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but that was still at the time where I was playing a lot of Xbox players. So was it desync? Was it right? I have to try and kind of wonder what caused that and why is it Sammy that seems to happen the most? Is it just because and it's just odd coincidence, or is it actually something towards him? Granted, he's still one of my better hitters. Didn't start off that way. But he's had some of the weirder, like, I don't know how to explain it moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
Murakami's been equally great and just confusing at the same time for me. I just got Sosa a little bit ago, but yeah, he doesn't have any quirks, which I don't know what kind of hitter is whole field extreme pull, but I guess I could go into a game and check. But anyways, all right, let's get to our top 10. So like my number 10, because there's so many like minutiae of hitting right here. It's kind of fun. My number, like, so did you only do outfielders? I did infielders that can also play outfield. Like my top 10.
I stayed, I basically stayed to pure outfielders. Obviously, the only one that really comes to mind though, that you said that I do use in the outfield is Trey Turner. After that, there's no one in the infield that would be as good, at least off the top of my head, where I would prefer them to be in the infield in the first place. Trey Turner is the only one where I go 199 speed. He gets a secondary and center, outfield, fine. Everyone else, I feel like infield is harder to fit.
Spoiler alert, I have a very high up on my list infielder in outfield, and
I think I could take a guess probably who.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yeah, let's say, but I have a feeling.
Trey Turner is right. 99 perfect speed, good fielder, and a great hitter. And he just seems to be able to hit the ball really well. I have not got this Trey Turner card yet. I just know how Trey Turner cards play in the past. I know how Trey Turner cards have been talked about this year. So that's my thought. Trey Turner right there for me. Have you used Trey Turner a lot this year?
An absolute piston. He's parallel 5.
Dang.
I've used him as second. I've used him in the outfield. I think it's best to use him in a corner outfield spot, even though he doesn't have that as a secondary. He's still a silver fielder out there. In center field, I want someone who's going to get good jumps right away. He gets still stupid ass animations at a high clip.
Where's the is there a threshold for stupid animations?
Not that I've learned yet. It definitely. So even right now, he would be a gold fielder with 82 fielding at parallel 5 in center, and he gets them at a high clip. Mike Trout is 85 fielding and will get stupid ass animations as well.
Yeah.
The only one that I've ever seen I've seen it before, but it's very rare. Sammy Sosa at 99 fielding, right? So it's almost kind of looking as if you have diamond and above fielding, you can still get a pretty bad animation, but it's very rare. As opposed to, I swear to God, silver and gold, it's 80% of the time.
Yeah.
They don't run right off the rip.
Yeah. Outfield defense and obviously with the stats being so inflated this year, it makes a lot of difference. And like these are still professional ball players, right? So like in previous years, having 60 fielding, 70 fielding was like league average. So like league average ball players not going to take an insane amount of false steps like the little leaguers. But they've completely remaneuvered that stat threshold, it feels like, this year.
Yeah, but it's also their way of combating just being able to get balls to fall in more. Yeah. And that's why I don't hate it. I understand why they did it, even though it's not how you go, he's 70, 80 fielding. It shouldn't happen as much. I agree. But it's clear their intent was to be able to get more line drives to fall. And that's one of the best ways in the current setup of the game that they can do that.
Yeah.
So I bet you if you see an outfield of Sammy Sosa, Ricky Henderson, and Ken Griffey, man, it's going to feel very similar to old years would be my guess.
Soon enough, it'll be right back, yeah. Yeah, because they cover a ton of ground still once they're at full speed. It's absurd. Who's your number 9?
Number 9, well, just talked about him, Ricky Henderson. Now, I really did it because I value fielding because I've just seen how bad it can be.
Yeah.
I've even seen it where people have gotten to the ball and it just hits the glove and it just
Yeah.
falls in.
That's
I
annoying.
haven't had that happen to me, but I've played people where it's happened to them and it just I'm dying of laughter. Um, but it's also again the jump, the animation that they'll get, that kind of thing. So Ricky Henderson, good bat, has really good quirks as well. But mainly he's there for fielding. Has the breaking ball hitter, dead red, bad ball hitter.
Yeah.
His power is lacking even at max elevation. I will say, if I hit it to center field even at max elevation, there's a good chance it dies.
Mm-hmm.
Pull side, it leaves. Opposite field, I haven't gone the other way with him a whole lot. His clutch isn't that high either, so that's kind of the holes that I talk about. He has two where it's not necessarily ideal, but the fielding and speed is very, very noticeable when he's in the outfield. Like just seeing the difference between him and Trout is nuts.
Yeah. With
With
96
98 reaction.
I can
Yeah.
only imagine.
Well, I'm parallel to you, but yeah, it's night and day.
Yeah. And like I feel like at legend difficulty you want like to take away as many hits as possible because they're like backbreaking because like taking away a hit like also raises your pitcher's confidence a little bit, whereas like that extra few points of maybe batting average and power, it does make a difference, but I feel like stealing it out from an opponent, it almost like matters more than that lower difficulty where you can just if a ball falls next inning you'll just get a couple more runs anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, interesting. Rick Andrews. I not even like your two were not even in my thought for my top 10. So that's interesting. I also did a few more infielders here. So this one, let me know what you think about this new Chris Bryant card hitting into the outfield for me because he's got it. He's got it secondary here. He seems super well balanced. He does have a left field, center field, right field as his secondary positions. 82 speed. His reactions are everything in fielding is in the mid to high 80s. Well, I guess low 80s for reaction. But great bat, kills lefties. The problem is there's not many lefties being pitched, and his clutch is low. So is this actually a bad choice? I don't know. It just seemed fun to me. I don't know why.
If clutch was never a thing, I would have been using this card, and I'm sure I would have liked him a little bit. I don't think he would start though. But clutch kills him. Again, at least on legend difficulty, I don't think he's got a swing like Posada to me, where I think I'm gonna still destroy even with a smaller PCI.
Okay.
So obviously, and doesn't have reverse splits. Say his splits were changed, so he has those lefty stats against righties. He becomes way more valuable.
Yeah. Yeah,
and I don't even mean just into the current meta of things. I don't even mean it that way. I mean in general. I would prefer to use a righty that has reverse splits because hitting lefties is that much easier. You got the platoon advantage. Give me the harder, on the harder side of things, righty. Give me the better stats.
No, I 100% agree with you on that one. He just seemed like a 5-tool stud to me, and he didn't seem to have many weaknesses. But now that you say even with his decent reaction fielding, he's still gonna get that many bad jumps. I'm like, dang, you might be right, and maybe Chris Bryant isn't it in the outfield like I thought he was. I haven't used this card yet. He's new. I didn't pick him up day one. This is all based off my projection of him, but maybe that was a bad choice. Maybe I should just use cards. Talked about cards I used so far. But yeah, I mean, it's part of the content overload this year. It's hard to really use all these cards coming out.
Yeah, and that's why, like, for me, like, I have my team that I have, and so if I'm being competitive, I have one team. If I'm just toying around on stream or using cards to use them, that's a whole different scenario. But in terms of a competitive team, right, I'm still open to having a center fielder over Trey. I'm still open to even Mike Trout, even though he's one of my better hitters. When he comes up with runners on, I get mad because it's clutch. It's annoying. And I'm very open to a first baseman, and I even have Babe Ruth. I suck with Babe Ruth cards every year. And apparently to start this, at least through 10 games, this one's been no exception. That's why I'm like, I can rake with Jorge Posada against righties with a much smaller PCI and obviously not 125 clutch either. So it's not a PCI thing. It has everything to do with swings and feel and a lot.
Yeah.
And just Babe has never been that guy for me.
Yeah, Babe's got the whole field hitting. Even though he should be a pull, I don't know why they gave him a hole. They keep giving him. He's got whole field hitting as a swing. So I also feel the same way. But I love Babe, favorite ball player of all time, because I just like the way he approached baseball. You know, drinking off the field and boozing and eating hot dogs and slapping dingers. But all right, who's your number 8?
For number 8, now I use him as a DH.
Okay.
And I really think that's the only way you can use him. But he is a right fielder, and that is Big Daddy Vladdy, the brand new home run derby card. He's easily so far the best home run derby card, not even close. Obviously, max power was at parallel 2, but he has max power default anyways. But at parallel 2 also comes with 110 contact right, 108 contact left, and most importantly, out of that, 125 clutch stock, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So at least when runners are on, you have the best potential, or not even, you have the best bat in the game. All right, 125 everything. If you get a runner on second or third, you got the bet, and he's got dead red, breaking ball hitter, first pitch hitter, bad ball hitter, fighter, homebody, night player, rally monkey. The only thing I wish he had would have been unfazed, but let me tell you, Vlad in real life, he got phased. He would swing at some insane shit. So giving him that would have not been pretty honest, but bad ball hitter, right? I mean, that's kind of like unfazed in a way.
He should be the only guy in the game that gets bad ball hitter for just how bad of a ball hitter he was.
Yeah, and hitting balls in the dirt for doubles, and
yeah, he was crazy. I didn't include him in my top 10 because I didn't like his fielding.
And that's why. Yeah. Would I ever use him in the field? Hell no. But as a DH, hell yeah. And he's a right fielder.
So we mentioned in your video on your channel that you see people stacking lefties in lineups. Why are you using him as a DH versus like Ohtani, who's a lefty also? Wouldn't you rather have Ohtani?
Because I'm a boomer mentality, right? To me, I still look at a card and go, ooh, like that's a better card. Even though it's not fitting the current meta, right? Even though to me it just seems nuts, even though I rate Ken Griffey really high, using Ken Griffey over Mike Trout, I can't do it yet. Even though people will, and it makes sense to, I understand why they're doing it. I completely agree with it. But there's just that thing in me where I go, but it's not even Angels bias. It's just like Mike Trout's technically the better card. Yeah. I want to use the better card. Now, if we're in a tournament setting, I'm going to play the meta. Right now, I'm still just kind of, we'll call it stuck in my old ways where, I like seeing the high stats. And, to be fair, at some point, there's going to be Randy Johnson. There's going to be the lefties, that have. So I just consider I'm getting ready for it, right? While everyone's, using the current meta, and then they'll go through an adjustment period. My adjustment period was getting better at righty hitting, which is why everyone's going lefty and switch hitters, because they realize how hard it is. Righty is and I'll attest to it, it's a very different beast this year with the sliders that people will spam at you on Legend. I'm at least just getting better at it before they are.
Yeah, my number 8, and so yeah, I get what your point about Vladimir is. You still got to hit righty eventually, so. Might as well just do it now. And I still run with 4 righties and switch, and then other switch. Talk about switch though. One guy that I've always seemed to hit pretty decent with. This year I've done similarly, right? I've liked them. Ketel Marte is my number 8 pick on the list, and. Again, not the fastest, not the greatest player, but he just has, that swing, right? He's got that, I think it's extreme pull. He's a switch hitter, and I go crazy for switch hitters. How much do you, okay, I consider a switch hitter, almost 50 points of batting average to me. What do you consider when you look at, whether choose a switch hitter or a one-handed hitter? What's your threshold? What's your thought process for that?
I mean, obviously, a switch hitter is better than a righty or a lefty. But
how many stats you would give up for the switch?
I would have had a very different answer. Say this was last year. because I'm learning how valuable it is through Posada and how good I can be even at a statistical disadvantage. Yes, you get the platoon advantage, but the numbers ain't as sexy on that paper, right? It's not the same. So really the only two switch hitters that I have in my current lineup, Posada, that's kind of the shock value to me where it's like, damn, he's that good. And then Chipper Jones is the like no brainer.
Yeah.
So, but to be fair, technically speaking, obviously through a smaller sample size, but Posada's doing better than Chipper.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. That is kind of strange. So anyways, I go crazy for switch hitters, and it's just been my thing for years. And most people agree. And who know, like how much contact and power can you give up just for the platoon advantage? Because it just feels better. Because like, say you do a full switch hitter lineup, okay, every single pitch sequencing for your opponent will be the same, right? They gotta attack you with the same hands, the same way, every single batter. And I feel like that's an advantage. Now, obviously, I don't do that, but it just feels more comfortable, even though maybe the results aren't as good. I don't know. It's hard. Maybe I should do. Maybe there should be statistical analysis done by like SDS in the community, who hits well with switch hitters and how they do versus righties with similar stats or with better stats. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling right here. Let's just go into 7.
Here, real quickly to feed off what you said though.
Yeah.
It's when people would always ask me, why do you use so many righties in your lineup, even right now? Because you're going to pitch to me the same way. I prefer hitting righty than lefty. That's pretty obvious, and that's why you see it in my lineup. But yeah, it's also why I find it hard to go into, let me get this amount of switch, this amount of left, this amount of right, or very little right. I'm like, well, I mean, I just know you're going to throw the slider. I just have to get better. I'll square it up better. It'll come with time.
Yeah, oftentimes, that's a great mentality to have, because the mentality I have right now is like, man, they're killing me, am I right? Just wait till my lefties come up. Just wait till Shohei's at bat. I'm a fucking blast that slider. Good luck then. Hang that slider just a little bit against Shohei, please. So I like what you said, but damn, I'm always like, you can strike me out, whatever. I got you next at bat. All right, number 7, who you got?
Number 7 for me is going to be the first lefty on the list, Kyle Tucker. I would rate him much higher if I was going pure meta at the moment. It's just, again, I expect the meta to shift within the next 2 weeks. Going from a heavy lefty lineup kind of thing. But in terms of lefty bats and beautiful swings and pretty solid all around, and he has some quirks.
Yeah.
Dude, he's one of my favorite cards every year, to be fair. When he has a 99, he's going to end up in the lineup. In terms of a lefty swing, the same way people go, oh, I love Ken Griffey, that same kind of love that people have for Griffey swing, that's the love I have for Tucker swing.
Yeah, he's got a good
That's how much I think his swing is that good. Like it is elite.
Yeah, do you worry about the 64 speed at all?
In a perfect world, he's your DH. Now, again, if I was ever going to DH a lefty, it's probably Tucker over Vlad.
Okay.
When he was out in the field, because his fielding was relatively high and his reaction is he just played kind of like everyone else. Okay. So not bad, but not great, right? It's not Sammy Sosa out there either.
Yeah. He's got an
putting out in the field, he's not a liability, say, like how Vlad for sure will be a liability.
Yeah, so he wasn't terrible. You're right. Reaction a little bit low, but not terrible. He does have an extreme pull swing, which
I was going to say, I'm looking at your screen, and that's starting to make sense, isn't it?
Yeah. Kyle Tucker. That's a good one. He didn't make my top 10 either. Weird. I maybe thinking back on it, maybe I'd put him over Chris Bryant now. I just went on potential Bryant, but Tucker, I do like his swing. Don't like his franchise, which is maybe why I overlook him a little bit. But yeah, Tucker was a great choice, and I'd take him over Bryant if I did this again. So all right, next up, mine right here is Julio Rodriguez, and I might have him a little low too. But man, I feel like there's a decent amount of good outfielders. There's one that might surprise you here on my list. I don't think you'd have him high, but Julio, like over 100s across the board as far as contact power, clutch, which we look at, 99 speed, insane arm throwing dudes out, fielding 93, but reaction 78. Quirk's pretty good too, and it just it makes sense. Like, I don't think he's got an insanely great swing. He's hitting what, 500, 548, but I think I used him in some events. But overall, I've had success with him.
Yeah, I get it. I think you're crazy, but
Really?
I get it.
You don't like Julio?
Well, I mean, at number 6, I have Julio, so it's just more of a troll. But the same concept, right? So you have him at 6. I don't think when you said you have him a little bit low. I'm like, it's kind of where I put him. The reality of the situation is he would be much lower if his clutch was bad.
Yeah.
Because they've made his swing better this year, at least in my opinion. His leg, or not a swing, right? We'll call it his stance and the year. It was super early, so I was always aggressively early with him because it was just noticeable. He would lift his leg and then put it down before the ball was even thrown.
Oh wow.
And so I couldn't mentally handle that visual going on. But this year, much better.
Because you play in Strike Zone, how much of the legs you actually see? It seems strange that
A good
I
amount.
almost don't see any of it when I'm in Strike Zone High.
The only cards that I don't see like a visual for, Nelson Cruz, and there's somebody else. Everyone else I can see something. So even like with Mike Trout, the reason why I always rake with Mike Trout, his leg, when he lifts his leg is right as that ball is thrown, and that's where I always want to put tension on my analog. So the natural process of timing is there. It's just super easy. J-Rod is still slightly early, but nowhere near as early as in years past.
Okay.
And again, with the fielding, the speed, everything else, this year he comes with quirks, and quirks are much more important. The breaking ball, dead red. I didn't necessarily like hitting with him too much when runners weren't on, but when runners were on, second and third, he was one of my favorite cards to have up when I was using him.
Insane.
He was good.
Yeah, no, I well said. So interesting about the leg kick, because I feel like I don't notice a whole lot of that. Maybe because I'm just playing All-Star, Hall of Fame, and hopefully avoid Legend my entire life, even though sometimes I'm forced to play in it to get the World Series. Maybe I just don't care that much about timing systems like that, because on All-Star, you don't really need to have timing window. You just see the ball and react. I feel like on the slower speeds of All-Star. So yeah, maybe that's as I move up something I'll have to rely on. All right, my number 6 is, I mean, you're an Angels fan. Probably, is this your favorite player of all time? Mike Trout?
Oddly, I mean, favorite player right now is going to be him and Ohtani all time. Probably not. I have a love for Angels that kind of fall into the background, if that makes sense, right? I mean, you'll hear the name and go, oh, yeah, I remember. But they were never, right? They weren't Tim Salmon. It wasn't Troy Glaus. I love David Eckstein. I love Sean Figgins. I love even Peter Borges, Borges, before Mike Trout. Yeah, just kind of, that fit that mentality. They were the grinders. And so those are the players that I've loved. Obviously, I love Mike Trout and Ohtani as well, but different. It's not the superstar. I love the guy who's doing all the right things, who's helping the team in ways that don't show up in the oh my God, he has 1,000 OPS. All right.
He's the one giving high fives and handshakes to everybody. Real clubhouse guy, huh? The glue.
It's not even the clubhouse guy. It's like he's still hitting a quiet 280. He may not be hitting 30 nukes, but he's hitting 15. He's hitting 20. So right, he's not on ESPN. But he's still somebody you go, oh, I would want him on my team.
Yeah, I get it.
That he's helping out the squad, and he's also got great defense. That was Sean Figgins. David Eckstein wasn't hitting home runs for a damn thing, but his defense, his speed, his contact, he was valuable in that time.
I remember Figgins. He was a great guy. All right, back to Trout here. I gotta ask you. Okay, this guy goes for 118 to 128. Like, is he worth a set one card? With so many free cards, I sold him. Like Mike Trout's cool, but I dipped out. I got Julio right now, who's 74, who I don't know why I haven't sold him yet. But what's the point of hanging on to an expensive Mike Trout card, set one? I don't think I'll ever lock him in. I mean, we got other cards we can lock in, and then we'll get more. Like, we'll get like monthly award cards that we'll probably lock into. Like, what's like? I don't know. He's a great card, and Extreme Pull, love it, love everything about this card. He was okay for me this year, and is he worth it? Is my biggest question, Gunski.
I still think at the moment he's worth it. I definitely expect within the next month there's a time where I move away from Trout, and it really has to do everything about his clutch. Say his clutch was the same as his contact, he would never leave my lineup. But that -8 to 10, yeah. Right, but I'm just saying even match his contact, because when nobody's on, this is the guy I want up. Really? When runners are on, get him the fuck away from me. I don't want to do it. It for whatever reason, his PCI goes from I feel very comfortable to very uncomfortable, which again, that's why I say it doesn't make sense, because I'll have Jorge Posada with a much smaller PCI and think very differently.
I mean, okay, so most starters have about, like we talked about in your video, like around that 110 number, but most starters are above 103. So do you think it's like because they're above you, they got you, but when you have your contact up, they're probably a little bit below you, maybe?
Maybe. Like I said, there's definitely a noticeable difference to me on runners on and runners off with him. And maybe that's just a mental thing with me, but it wouldn't explain why Posada or some others, I go, it doesn't bother me.
Do you think it's his vision? But his vision's kind of low.
His vision's not lower than his, actually quite a bit higher than Sammy's. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Sammy, to me, even in the slider meta where vision kind of starts to matter again, I don't feel thrown off with Sammy the same way I would with Trout.
So yeah, it's not that. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I don't know how to explain it then. Strange. All right. Well, who's your number 5?
A number 5 now. So this is where I say, like, I love to bring in certain price points and stuff. So this is a free card. And for those who watch my channel, I would always say it because I truly meant it. Best DH in the game. Not except now there's Vlad. So, I mean, but best free DH in the game. Eloy Jimenez, the 97.
Really? Okay.
That dude was nuts. He did everything I would want and more. And actually, now that I think about it, I need to move him to my bench. I don't know why he's not there. Mike Napoli needs to move on to greener pastures because he is never going to be coming in over Jorge Posada. But Eloy Jimenez, once I find him, there he is. Had him at parallel 5. Was hitting over 400 with him, which especially at the time I was using him, I was going through my struggles. I wasn't hitting as well as I am now. For the most part, I think I am mostly back. There's still certain things I need to work on. My first probably 40, 50 games were rough, really rough, even on lower difficulties. But when I talked about reverse splits, he gives you them. Yeah. 121 contact, and this is parallel 5, 121 contact right, 104 contact left. You go, oh, that's not that great. Well, I mean, you got the advantage. So 104 feels like the 121 now. 116 power right, 114 power left. He's got 97 vision, is what it is, but 125 clutch at parallel 5.
Yeah.
He becomes a 125 contact, right or left, don't matter, 116 power or 114. That's kind of why I said, well, Vlad becomes 125, 125. And oddly enough, when you look at the quirks, Eloy had some good ones. Bad ball hitter, which is hard to come by, and it was noticeable with him. First pitch hitter, I'm a horny bitch. I love swinging early on, so perfect for me. And day player, which those I never really noticed, but I'm sure they play somewhat of a role.
Yeah.
He also had that swing. He had that swing. If I swung early on an outside cutter, but I was on it, he still cranked it to the pull side. As opposed to certain people would be like, oh, they rolled it over. Oh, it was a routine pop up or something. He would still demolish the ball. And then I see what you're doing. I wonder if he does have extreme pull. He has pull hitter.
Yeah, he's pulling.
Kind of makes sense. Ever since you told me that, I'm like, oh my God, this is nuts. So it makes even more sense now.
Yeah.
He, for free, that's why he's at the 5 spot. For free, you can have the second best now DH in the game.
Yeah.
And Vlad to be number 1 at 98K. Dude, price point wise, I still take Eloy over Vlad. It's just I had the stubs, and I love Vlad as an Angel fan.
You gotta. It's not that big of a step down, and for that much stub difference, was it 100K? Did you say?
Yeah, Vlad's 100K.
Yeah, it's not even close. Like that 100K stubs is a lot, and you can use that on like some other things that won't have that same. So I agree, Eloy, great choice. I didn't even think about the DH when I was putting together my outfields. I was thinking of infielders, but not DHs. Number 5 for me though. This one you might think I'm wild. Jim Edmonds.
I never even used him.
Really?
I just the clutch. If you had low contact versus left, but your clutch would make up for it in clutch situations. I'm very willing, to try it. But him, even though I know he's got a good swing and maybe this is his best card that he gets all year, it's definitely possible. I just couldn't do it. The low contact and low clutch against left, I just saw it as it was going to be a problem and it would piss me off.
Yeah, no, I see it. This guy just puts the ball into dangerous position. Like great. Like the thing is, okay, low speed but great fielding reaction, and how much does that matter? Like he doesn't really take false steps, but he's not as good as say like Julio getting the balls in the gap. So that is a fair negative. But there is just something about me and Jim Edmonds that click together, and it just really works out well. And he just one of those guys that for the last forever years since I've like had Jim Edmonds cards in my lineup. He just smacks the ball, and when he's at the plate, I feel so comfortable using him. So that's why he's number 5 for me. But yeah, if you never click with him, he does have problems with him, right? Low vision. If you have trouble striking out, he's gonna swing through pitches for you. Low speed, not a burn on the base pass. But overall, I just Jim Edmonds provides something to my team. Veteran leadership or something. I don't know what.
I was saying, to be fair, in the current meta, right, you're facing righties, and I would have no issue having 93 clutch against a righty. That wouldn't bother me. Against lefties, where it's my clear least favorite, place to hit lefty, and I think it's pretty much everybody because most people in real life are righties.
Totally.
Statistically speaking. But so yeah, having that clutch against righties wouldn't bother me. And if nobody on righty with Jim Edmonds, probably one of my favorite cards.
I think
and that's why I'm like, well, to be fair, in this meta, where there's almost no lefty pitching at the moment, I would be curious. I mean, look at your Diamond Dynasty. How many at-bats have you faced a lefty? It has to be so minimal.
11 versus a lefty and 67 versus righties.
Yeah, and even then I go 11's got to be high as an average.
That's through a lot of event grinding, though.
But even then, right? I mean, if I look at somebody like Babe Ruth, for instance.
I don't think I used them in the moonshot, but I used them in the earlier events.
If I didn't face Mad Bum once, my ABs versus right and left with a pure lefty would have been 33-3 with Babe Ruth, 1-10. But I did face Mad Bum in his last game.
Okay.
So, but I'm like, I've only seen Mad Bum twice, so that would be an anomaly somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah, even though you liked Mad Bum for that reason to throw people off, you don't really see him at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy. So, all right, number 4 for you. In this meta,
number 4 is oddly enough who I just went to go compare to see ABs. It is Babe Ruth. Now, people may be wondering, like, how is he not number 1 and all this stuff? Well, multiple reasons. One, I used him at first base because out in the field, hell no, am I going to want him out there?
Yeah.
That is a liability and a half. That being said, though, I always suck year in, year out. with a Babe Ruth card. Max contact, max clutch, max power. It doesn't matter. You can even make him 180. I'll find a way to probably make him my worst hitter. I just don't click with his swing. I'm going to give him a little bit more run than I usually do this year, just because of how insane his card is, especially at the start. But I wouldn't be surprised in a week or two. I'm already over it. I'll be one of the few people, especially on Legend, not using Babe Ruth, but I'll use somebody else at first base that just hits better for me, even though he's not the same statistically. But yeah, Babe Ruth, hard to argue why he wouldn't be in your top 3, or in my case 4. Max everything except for vision. Okay in the field, okay, pretty ass speed, S60, for a 99, but has quirks that I don't know what quirk he's missing other than, I guess, breaking ball hitter that you would want. Dead red, unfazed, bad ball hitter, situational, first pitch. He comes loaded.
Just like he did IRL. He came loaded
Yeah.
day. But that was with alcohol. Dude, he's a whole field hitter, so I see why you don't like hitting with him. Yeah, I also put him at 4. I actually technically read my wrong. I had him originally at 3, but I think 4 is a good spot for Ruth, because he's a great DH, great first baseman for you if you put somebody else at DH, because he's the best first baseman in the game right now, in my opinion, too. So I'm right there. I have not used this card. I've used Babe Ruth jersey, but here's the thing about Babe Ruth. I think with this card, when you go up, and I think maybe you're pressing, like you're like, yo, this is the Babe. Just get a hold of it. And I think your opponents are, when Babe comes to the plate, they're probably also locked in on not giving you a good pitch to hit. And so, like, you're pressing, and I've done this, like, you want to hit with Babe. They don't want to let you hit with Babe. So they're really, like, throwing you maybe a few more balls than they would with, like, somebody else. Like you do not pitch Ricky Henderson and Babe Ruth the same. So, like, you had Ricky Henderson at 9, and you're like, he hits pretty decent. He does well. It's because, like, people will attack you with Ricky Henderson, right? Like, who cares? Kyle Tucker. Okay, Johnny come lately. This is Babe Ruth. I'm not going to put a pitch and make a mistake to Babe Ruth because I'll be right at it. It's like, it feels like people leaning forward in their chair when they're pitching to him. It just, I don't know. It seems that way to me. It's one of those cards that we press with too much.
I'm sure that is true, but for what, 2? For sure 2. I think 3 though. Years that he's been, every time I've used him, my worst card. At a certain point, I go, it's not just pressing. It's just certain cards, and I've been somebody who's always been this way. There's certain cards that I use that people go, I don't understand. Why do you use this card? He sucks. I go, well, he's in 480 for me. It just is what it is. I don't know what to say other than that. And then there'll be cards. Babe Ruth is kind of one of them where people go, I love him. He's so good for me. This is that. And I go, yeah, no, not necessarily for me. No.
That's funny.
And I find that as a beautiful thing, right? I mean, it goes to show that just because even in our list where we're talking about, oh, this card's good and here's the reasons, that's probably true for a lot of people. You think about how many people are like, dude, I hit so well with 97 Eric Davis. He would be, number 3 or 2 in my spot. Or it's just like, yeah, Eric Davis is good, but for some people, it really clicks, right? And so for some people, it really clicks with Babe Ruth. And for me, nope. And I just don't think it will. And I don't know why, because it's not, a lot of times I can point to something and go, yeah, I don't like the late leg kick or the super early leg kick. I just can't point to anything. I just go, I suck. But
yeah, I mean, I kind of told you, right? He's a whole field hitter, and the pull and extreme pull guys are better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that might just be it. It's like he just doesn't have the good timing windows to the inside pitches. Potentially, he doesn't pull them well enough. I don't know either, I guess, outside of that. All right, number 3 for you.
Number 3, and I'm going to find a way to get him in my lineup to move Babe Ruth. I just may end up doing something crazy where it's Chipper Jones at first or Derek Jeter, right? Dude, it's going to be something nuts. But I think it would make my lineup better. Number 3 is Griffey. Okay. I know I would hit much better with Griffey than I would Babe Ruth. And obviously his defense as well is super, super valuable.
So
when I did use Griffey,
So wait. So Roof's at first view. Griffey's not in your outfield?
Not at the moment because Trey's in the outfield.
Oh, right.
It's Trey. Well, okay, you're gonna start learning who my top two are, but
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Trey's in the outfield just because second base, I have Tatis, and then at short, and then I have Derek Jeter at second. Yeah. And I have Chipper at third, Babe Ruth at first. The way I'm probably gonna have to run it is Trey is gonna, because I love his bat too much. Trey's gonna play like third base because he has as a secondary, and Chipper will go play first. Where Chipper still had like 78 fielding, so he shouldn't just be dropping stuff.
Are you sure?
It should be
hard code drops into that.
They did one year, but last year they did not.
Oh, really?
So
I did not know that.
So I don't know, and that's what I said. Like I may do something crazy, to people, but we'll just see. If it works, then cool. If not, once I have a first baseman that's either a right-handed or switch hitting bat that I like as much or close to Trey, Ken Griffey's probably in center, or left over one of the other guys. But Griffey's really good. It's just at the moment I don't have a spot. I do value him a lot though. He is somebody I would recommend for sure.
Okay. I what's so funny is Babe was my 4-2. I actually technically had it the other way, but like Ken Griffey is my 3, Babe's my 4, and we're right on the same page there. I think our top 2 might be slightly different. We'll see what you put here, but who's your number 2?
Number 2 for me is still going to be Trout. Even with, like I said, it doesn't matter really who I look at. There's a hole to some degree.
I messed
up. I was like, what just happened?
I messed up for a second. Like, yeah, I had the wrong thing highlighted when I hit M.
But yeah, so it's still Trout. Every card, whether it's from Torrey Hunter over to still Trout, there's a hole in their game. There's not somebody that I can still look at the moment and go, encompasses everything. Trout's close. He's probably the closest even over my number 1. But that clutch, man, there's something about 105 with him that's very different than 95 with Jorge Posada. It's 2 different worlds, and I can't put my thumb on it. When nobody's on, Mike Trout's my best hitter.
Yeah.
Night and day. Not even over Jorge, who's hitting 600. It's still Mike Trout.
Yeah, I guess I didn't get my thoughts on Ken Griffey Jr. I wish they made Junior into like actual Junior. Like, he's gonna compare with my number 2. I'll show you in a second. Like 5-tool superstar. Maybe you can argue Vision's a little low, but like they just gave him like 106, 101, 111, 105, which would have been like fine if this was like a certain year card. But it's like his 99 charisma, which is like just like what is the charisma series? It's just like made up, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
so they could give him whatever stats they want. They kind of like did like a Lou Gehrig on this card where he's like, why did he get these stats, but other people get other stats? Because Ken Griffey Jr. should have 120s here for power plus on charisma. Because my number 2 outfielder is Tatis, who can play his secondary positions out there because he's got 125 power. And like when you think of Tatis, he's like, yeah, great player, right? He's juiced out his head, but like that's freaking Ken Griffey Jr. Why doesn't he have these stats? Like this guy's 94 speed, 99 arm. You can argue the reaction is a little bit low and he'll get bad jumps out there, which is fair. But 107, 110 contact, 125 clutch. Like, how the heck is Fernando Tatis like this? He came out a few days after Griffey, just way better in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and if I was putting infielders in the outfield, he would it would shake up everything because he would easily have to fit into my top 3.
Yeah.
It's just that he has shortstop. I don't know how. Even with Derek Jeter, I'll move Derek Jeter to second. He still has 89 fielding at second base. Like I'll live. He's fine. Tatis, his value is that he's a shortstop that can do this. You can find outfielders similarly that can do what he's doing, right? But name me a shortstop that's even close to what he's doing in this game right now.
I wouldn't even think Jeter's doing what he's doing.
Nope.
Chipper Jones.
I was a secondary, sure, but even Chipper Jones's fielding isn't going to come close to Tatis's at short. And Derek Jeter's a better fielder at short, but right, it's the contact to power and blah blah and clutch. I mean, but I still love Derek Jeter, right? That's why he's even playing second base. But yeah, no, Tatis in the outfield still is a top 3 card. He's just the number 1 shortstop, even over Derek Jeter. He's got that swing, as I'm sure you'll probably look at.
Sure.
Got the extreme pull, right? That seems to be a very common theme with all these guys that are really, really top tiers, that they have that extreme pull window. And Tatis is, again, it amazes me how good he is with no quirks. He's got no quirks. And he's still, right, when him and Vlad are at the plate, I don't even care if it's a righty. You put those 2 guys at the plate with 125 clutch, when there's runners on second or third, with the 125 power, the ball ain't landing. You are not getting it by me. Their swings are too good. They already got the juice power. In Tatis's case, even if I hit a ground ball, man, you better make a sweet play because he's 99 speeds running down the line at parallel 5. And it's just what does he not do? Right? He would be realistically the actual pretty close to 5-tool outfielder if his reaction. Let's just say these were his stats and his primary was a corner outfield spot. He's a 5-tool guy.
Yeah.
I would say 83 reactions good enough.
So,
we'll get to 86.
So, okay. Talk about quirks here and Tatis's lack of them. He just, he's got the attributes to do it all. And so there's like different theories about what quirks do. We talked about earlier, are they just like, do they boost exit velocity, do power contact? Because like what we've seen in previous years testing is that certain quirks, and I want to show Chipper, for example, they increase your contact number, right? They increase your PCI size contact. And there's theories that it also increases power. So I got a thought exercise for you. Chipper Jones going against a lefty, 125 power lefty. Okay, say it's at home, which is a minor quirk. Okay, they said like +4 contact or maybe +4 power. So we'll just say those are equals. All right, home body and night player are minor, so like +4 if I recall correctly. So that's +8 power there. Say it's the first pitch of the at bat and it's a fastball. I heard those are like +6, so that's another +12. So that's +20 on his power right there. Say that there's a runner from on third base too, which is another +6. So is that what did I say, 26 power? That means he has 151 power against lefties with that situation. Is do you think that's how it works? Because that's kind of insane. Because Seabrev did prove that contact goes over 125 with quirks. So we think
with
power
the quirks,
thing. Yeah. So 150 power on Chipper
I'll
Jones.
still tell you, dude, the ball ain't jumping off the bat of Chipper Jones the same way as it's jumping off of Tatis. The ball flies with Fernando.
Really?
There's clearly, and it's already been proven in the past the same way where it's like, yes, what you said about, what Seabrev did is very true. The same way, though, it was true, like, well, why was it Alberto Mondesi, hitting fucking nukes with 38 power or something, it was something ridiculous, but he was hitting nukes. There's something about certain swings where it just gets through something. It's clearly generating higher exit velos than everybody else. And Tatis, I promise you, is one. That's why I'm like, even without quirks, like Murakami, I said, like, I'm not going to use him, or I did, but I said I don't like him because he doesn't have quirks. He doesn't have the swing to make up for it. Tatis, I can't even imagine if they gave him quirks. If they gave Tatis quirks, I would. He's instead of Chipper Jones being the card that everyone would, set 3 comes around that they go, oh, I'm going to save this card. Yeah, I'm saving Tatis. What do you mean? Tatis is the guy that's coming with me.
Right. So Mondesi, even though he's had bad stats, he's got extreme pull. Chipper is whole field, which I don't mind whole fields for switch hitters as much because it takes a longer time for the ball to get to the inside part of the plate against the opposite handed hitter. So I don't mind it as much. That's why I like Chipper. I love switches, but Mondesi, he's got that line drive swing, and then it's extreme pull too. So that's why it really jumps off. It feels like. But yeah, you're right. Some people with those really slap swings seem to do much better. It feels like.
And Tatis isn't a slap swing by any
No,
means.
no,
It's
he's
just
not.
there's something that's not even that can't even be explained by extreme pull with him.
Huh.
Because it's like, yeah, there's certain extreme pulls where I go, yeah, it explains something, right? It explains why they're good. But how is it that Fernando for the last year, obviously doesn't count because we didn't have him, but the 2 years prior, the ball just flew.
I'm hitting 231
And
through
it
13
would
at
it would
bats.
generate a higher exit velo. I and again, so the same way, right? You're hitting maybe it doesn't identify
Small
with you the
sample
same
size.
way.
Small sample
Yeah.
size, obviously.
But in my 10 games, oddly enough, although you only have 13 plate appearances, I have 43
This is
in
I
10
think this is
games.
moonshot too.
Jeez.
I've lined out
But
a couple. We'll just say they're all lineouts. All perfect lineouts.
but in 10 games for me on Legend, right? And again, in a righty meta, he's hitting 472 with a 1.9 OPS. Again, that's why I still go, oddly enough, Posada's better, but Tatis is still nuts.
He's playing well field. That's good to hear. All right, who's your number one outfielder then?
Number one is Sosa. I feel like it has to be.
Yeah.
Even though I look at him and go, well, you know, I've learned to like him more and more. It didn't start off that way, but he's actually the 5-tool guy. I think there will obviously be much better 5-tool players that come out in the next month or so. Just because of swings, and he actually doesn't have that many quirks, which surprised me when they gave him to us. You know, I would have expected they're like, give him everything. But for right now, you know, I have him P5'd and 88 speed with 93 reaction, 99 fielding, 99 arm. Those are all insanely noticeable.
Yeah.
You know, compared to Trey Turner right next to him in center field, who makes me want to light my hair on fire. Sammy just gets to every ball. If I square it up with Sammy, other than the few times to directly center field on outside fastball perfects, outside of those few scenarios, the ball flies off his bat. It just may seem like he's got a weird hole in a certain area.
Yeah, I think that's where like a few of my perfect center field. Like it's almost like the game doesn't understand when a guy like extends his arms to get those perfect on the outside part of the plate or the outside fastball. They just seem to be like routine cans of corn almost. Strange. With the lack of active velo. I agree on everything you said on Sammy. I don't have anything to add over that. Good clutch, low vision. I guess if you could strike out with him, especially in higher difficulties with a low vision. But yeah, overall, Sammy seems like number one to me too. Right there with Fernando as far as like the 5 tools out there, and his arm is just wild. 99 arm. I don't know if Fernando has it too, but like it's just a frozen rope.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's very noticeable. Like I say, comparing him to Trey is night and day, right? And Trey's got much bigger, you know, much larger speed. I guess I don't know how to phrase that correctly. Much higher speed. There we go.
Like my biggest.
Sammy gets to the ball better.
The biggest reason I don't like this year's game is like Clemente, who should have 99 arm because he's like one of the greatest arms of all time, and he's got like 97 here, and like I can see his power being low because he played at Forbes and hit a lot of home runs there because it's impossible to hit home runs at Forbes, but it just seems like Sammy Sosa having a 99 arm. It's like, well, what's Roberto Clemente's arm all time then? It's just like right there with everybody else's, I guess. Seems weird.
It's always scaled. To be fair, I mean, it's always scaled. I'm sure once he gets to 99, he's going to have stock. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just sad he's not the first one to 99 again this year, as I am a biased Pirates fan.
Fair enough.
But hey, Gunsky, this was really fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed every time.
Yeah. Let's do it again. We'll do infielders next time.
Yeah. We'll definitely do infielders and maybe actually go a little bit more in depth about relief pitchers as opposed to kind of a quick little blurb.
Yeah. I mean, we went really in depth in our these videos. I hope people learned something, were entertained. I definitely learned stuff from Gunsky. It's just maybe I'm just using my YouTube channel as an excuse just to hear from you about how this game plays in certain players. And for that, I thank you, YouTube audience, for letting me pick Gunsky's brain.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like you don't bring something to the table, because when you told me about Extreme Pool and then we were going through it and it was just breaking down, I'm like, I'm gonna have to target this.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, you technically knew because you're like, damn, I'm really good with this player, but it's like they release, say, a new legend or whatever, and one of which, I'll throw in a spoiler of one that we talked about. That Tony Clark, if he gets a good card from '05 with that Extreme Pool,
Yeah.
that would be very good.
Because he was. Is he in the free agent tab or?
I don't remember where he was. I mean, clearly he was somewhere. There he is.
Yeah,
right there.
he's just in the long ball. Yeah.
Oh, he's Holyfield? He's Holyfield. Oh, never mind. I thought he was. I thought when we talked about him, he had Extreme Pool. Yeah, but he's switch hitting first baseman, who should be pretty good if they go based off of like a '05 year. He had a pretty nuts year.
6, 7.
So
what a beast.
Worst comes to worst, I haven't heard anybody really talk about him, so he should still be a very fun first baseman card. So, fortunately, not Extreme Pool.
Yeah, I like how they let us see all these legends that are on their way. But, anyways, Gunsky, I'll talk to you later. This was a blast. Take it easy.